Today should start. Again, we are on part 2, chapter 5, spontaneous physical manifestations. Um, Today we will start on item 92, hurling of objects. It's been a while. Last time we have been together was the 19th of November. So let's recap what's seen so far on this chapter. To begin to begin with the definition, what do they mean by spontaneous physical manifestations? They mean exactly that. They are spontaneous, that they happens without the command or request from an incarnate person. They are not planned, and usually they do not happen on a seance or in a mediumistic event. They just happen usually where there is a medium of physical phenomena, but the medium of physical phenomena may be in the vicinity, not necessarily in that location.
Mm.
Most often, those physical manifestations are expressed through noises, something that catches our attention through our auditory system, taps, noises, um, in different places. Uh, Sometimes by through manipulation of objects, things that falls, things that are be thrown, things that levitate, things that disappears, as well as things that just appears. Okay. Then you'd ask, what for? Why would the spirits be doing things like that for? Without being asked, without being requested. Naturally, because they want to show their presence. If it's from good spirits, naturally the intentions are also good. So the intention would be to educate us, perhaps to warn us of something that is happening that requires our attention. Um, and if it's from a more ignorant or even an evil spirit, the intention would be associated with their qualities. So it would be to disturb us, to cause fear to us. Very often, just for plain entertainment, they just want to have some fun. Sometimes, especially if it's a personal relationship between a discarnate and an incarnate, would be to cause anxieties, to lead to fear, sometimes even may lead to suicides. As we saw the last time we worked, it may lead for these persons being labeled as having psychiatric disorders, even being placed in psychiatric institutions, which very often is a well-designed plan by spirits to really disturb and complicate the lives of those individuals. Again, when it's a personal relationship. Okay, most often it's not.
Mm.
All right. Just keep in mind that again, it is physical phenomena because um, it catches our physical senses. You can see, you can hear, we can smell it, we can touch it, and we does not require us to be a medium to be sensitized, to perceive those things. Okay, and again, it does require always a medium of physical phenomena, someone who may produce what we call now ectoplasm, that will be manipulated by spirits that have the know-how to perform those physical phenomena. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Begin.
Yes, please.
Okay. The hurling of objects. The explanation of how inert objects are moved naturally applies to all the spontaneous effects we have just dealt with. Although they are louder than raps within a table, noises have the same cause. The hurling and displacement of objects are produced by the same force that lifts any object into the air. There is even a circumstance that serves to support this theory. We, we might ask where the medium may be found in these cases, and the spirits have explained that there is always someone whose forces are used unwittingly. Spontaneous manifestations rarely occur in isolated areas, but almost always occur in inhabited houses and are due to the presence of certain individuals who unknowingly exert their influence. These people are mediums but are unaware of their abilities. We thus call them natural mediums. They are to other mediums what natural somnambulists are to magnetic somnambulists and are as worthy of examination.
Okay. So the word hurling just means throwing or casting. Um, and basically, we already covered that. The throwing of objects, of casting of objects, follows the same principle of all physical phenomena. It requires a medium to provide what we now call ectoplasm. Remember that when the book's published, the word ectoplasm has not been utilized yet. Okay, it was later on that the terms became used. So Kardec will use terms energies or anything that the medium will provide. But it was clear to them at that time that there was a medium, and that medium provides some kind of a substance that had affinity with the spiritual and the physical worlds, and therefore could be used by spirits. Things is that very often the medium who possesses that ability is completely unaware of it. So he donates, so to say, it's this substance, it's this energy that spirits use to perform the physical phenomena, but they themselves are not even aware of their own abilities. I'll leave the topic of magnetic somnambulism for later when we study this topic. Otherwise, we will deviate too far out. Okay, questions or let's go.
Okay. The voluntary or involuntary intervention of an individual endowed with a special aptitude appears to be necessary in most cases to produce these phenomena, although sometimes there are circumstances where a spirit seems to be acting alone. However, even in such cases, it could still be taking the animalized fluid from someone who is not in the immediate area. This would explain why it is that even though spirits are constantly around us, they do not cause disturbances all the time. A spirit must first want to and must have a purpose and a motive, without which it does not do anything. Then it must find an individual nearby who is capable of aiding it where it intends to act, a coincidence that rarely happens. If such an individual unexpectedly appears, the spirit takes advantage of the opportunity. However, despite these favorable circumstances, it may still be prevented by a superior will who will not allow it to act as it wants, or it may be allowed only to act within certain limits in cases where such manifestations may be considered useful, whether to serve as a means of conviction or as a trial for the person subjected to them.
Okay, so this the importance of this paragraph is is that we could question why isn't no physical phenomena be happening all over the place every time, since the spirits can pick up ectoplasm and do whatever they want. There is a sequence of events required. It's almost as if the planets must align in order to the phenomena to happen. One, as I said, the spirit must have a know-how, have know how to utilize that ectoplasm. Might know that there is this ability to do so. If most of us are ignorant of this phenomena here in the planet Earth, most of us are ignorant of this phenomenon when we go back to the spiritual world as well. So most of us don't even know of that it's capable. Most discarnate spirit doesn't know us just as well. Most incarnate spirit doesn't know of it. Okay. Second, if they know of it, they would have to have an objective, a purpose to do that. Okay. Most of us are too busy with the incarnate here, with our life, doing our things, trying to get ourselves better, trying to pay rent, something else. In the spiritual world, you have things to do as well that is probably more important than being using our time with the physical phenomena. Okay. Um, Three, we have our protecting spirits, we have our guardian angels, that even if a spirit have the know-how, and there is, and even if you are a medium of physical phenomena, there is a medium of physical phenomena around us or in the vicinity of us, because again, the medium may not be present in the same building, but it's somewhere in the vicinity, and they can pick up that ectoplasm and bring to where they want to perform the phenomena. Our protecting spirit or guardian angels may not allow those things to happen, may protect our environment. For one thing, the Jesus at home that you do once a week will kind of help us to avoid those things to be happening. Unless, again, it is from a good spirit for a good cause. Naturally, it will happen. The good spirits will allow it to happen. But we are protected as well. And in some circumstances, the our guardian angels or protecting spirits may allow it to happen. And the word over here is useful. If it is useful, not necessarily good, not necessarily pleasant, not necessarily um, that will bring us some joy, but maybe on the contrary, it may be painful, maybe frightening, it might be difficult, but it is useful. I don't know how many people have looked for a spiritual center because a phenomenon happens and they have no answer. They checked everything that they could check and nothing gave the answers, and they finally found a spiritual center. And very often when they come to us, they talk to us and offer fraternal assistance, and things are happening. They start to come to the center, start to understand things better, and those things stops to happen, no longer happen. It just disappear. Why? Because we educated ourselves, because we found ways to purify our home environment, and things just go away. So at times the spirits will let us face those challenges for something good. So the important word here is useful. It may not be pleasant, but it's useful. It produces something good at the end. All right? Questions? Comments? Does it make sense?
Elmo,
Sure.
uh, the example is not that great, but I think you're gonna get the point. For example, here in a physical level, if you have a gun and someone take your gun and use to something that's not useful, you are responsible. if you don't report it, or even though if you don't know that was stolen or whatever, you ended up, in trouble. So, and you say, and we studying here that the spirit, they, even though you're not aware that your fluid is taken from you, it's being used for something else. So the question is, what's the responsibility of the person that is quote unquote donating that energy and is not it's being used for a useful purpose?
I would say that in theory that medium of physical phenomena does not carry any responsibility, especially if it's completely unaware of it. Um, Differently from possessing a gun, and I think is a very good example, that you have it, you know the danger of it, and you know when you get it, you have all the advices on how to have it locked and protect and everything else. So you fail to perform something that you know that you should do it. In this case, spiritual medium of physical phenomena, aware or unaware of this ability, will not be carry the responsibility to what an spirit does with it. But especially in most of the case, that the medium is not even aware of it.
Thank you.
Yep. But that's a very good question because we're always talking about the responsibilities. But in this particular case, the medium will not carry responsibility for this. Which will be different. You're talking about spontaneous communication, right? Which will be different if it was not spontaneous. If, let's say, in a spiritist meeting and there is a medium of physical phenomena, and we request, we ask a spirit to perform one or another act, then we share the responsibility with that spirit because the idea comes from us. We gave the idea, so to say, to that spirit, but not in the case of spontaneous.
Elmo, is the medium ever aware when they don't purposely start something that they're donating to a process?
You ask if sometimes they are aware of it.
Yeah, are they aware even though they're not not physically part of the process?
Yeah, there are some mediums that they are aware of their ability, and they actually work when in physical phenomena, but very often this is more in the works of cure, spiritual surgeries, those kind of things. The spirits are aware of their ability. They are aware they are able to donate.
No. Okay, so no, I was saying in a case where there's a spirit that can donate in another building, is he ever aware that he is donating to some process, even though he's not involved in that process?
Most of the time, no. The spirit is usually that need is usually not aware of it.
Okay, thank you.
Because you remember that unlikely in the intelligent phenomena, there is not a real participation of the medium. There is no expansion of its perispirit. There's no a mediumistic trance, so to say, most of the time. What is different of when the medium is aware and they want to perform some kind of physical phenomena, again, most of the time is for therapeutic mediumistic phenomena. The medium is aware, the medium is placed in a specific cabinet. The medium goes into a mediumistic trance, and ectoplasm is utilized, and the medium is very aware of it. But again, not in case of spontaneous.
Yeah, what may happen is that the medium feels losing energy, feels being drained without understanding exactly what's going on. But but that's the most that may happen, if it happens, depending on the amount of ectoplasm that is utilized.
If it's a medium who is somewhat studying the phenomena or is curious about it, we can do a work of investigation and see when, let's say, when Elmo is present, those things happens. When Elmo goes on vacation and goes back to Brazil, those things doesn't happens. Is it likely that Elmo may be the spirit, the medium of that allows the phenomenon to take place? There's a good likelihood that it is. So if you do a very thorough investigation, you may conclude that person A or person B is the one that is the medium of physical phenomena.
Thank you.
Okay, since you opened the door, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Liz, go ahead.
A question, Elmo. Can't sometimes the spirit use the medium and ectoplasm not only from the medium himself, but from other people who are in the group?
Yes, and that happens often also. So we are always using the word a medium, but could be more than one medium of physical phenomenon. It requires at least one, but could be more than one. Cannot?
Yeah, since João mentioned the lack of energy, because once in a while I experienced that, and I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just trying to get a sense of what would be the signs of something like that happening. Because sometimes I feel out of nowhere I'm okay, and I start to feel like so drained, and I literally have to go and lay down and literally sleep, because it's just like I can't take it now. I think I've done this in Phil's home once or twice, and he was like, "You're okay." No, I'm okay. I just need to sleep now. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening, but I was just wondering what would be different situations that this thing might be happening to a person, a medium, whatever.
Yeah, once you rule out all the possible physical causes, you sleeping 4 hours a day, baby is crying, and I got a chance to get to a point that you just needs to go to bed and get some rest. When you rule out all those causes, it's not A, it's not B, it's not C, it's not D, then you may consider the possibility that is indeed a spiritual cause. And then you do further investigation, see what's happening around me or near me that suggests any kind of physical phenomenon is taking place. But I would be very careful to say it is a spiritual cause, because 99.9% will be of a physical cause that we don't know of it. But it's just what João said, it would be some kind of fatigued, and a fatigue that comes kind of suddenly, and you feel that you are in need of replace that energy. You just finish eating, and then you feel that your battery is down when you feel that you need to eat again, and things like that. No, but you require a tremendous amount of investigation. But yes, the symptoms, so to say, you'll be an unexplained fatigue.
Thank you.
But again, most of the time you can explain through physical causes.
Mm.
And I'm very, very cynical when it comes to mediumship. You gotta have to prove to me that you are a medium, and by that is ruling out all the physical causes.
Mm. Mm. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. 94. Regarding the above matter, we will allude to a conversation arising from events that occurred in June of 1860 on Noah's Street in Paris. Details of the incident can be found in the Review Spirit, August 1860.
So thanks. So what Kardec you reproduce to us now here is an event that was happening in 1860 in Paris in this street. I confess I didn't get a chance to go to the Spiritist Review and check exactly what it was.
Okay.
But it's pretty much self-explained as follow.
Okay. To St. Louis, would you be so kind as to tell us if the events that are said to be occurring on Noah's Street are real or not? We have no doubt that it is quite possible for them to occur. Yes, the events are real, but popular imagination has exaggerated the facts, whether out of fear or mockery. Nonetheless, I will repeat that they are real. The manifestations are being caused by a spirit who is entertaining itself at the expense of the inhabitants of the place. 2. Is there someone in the house who is the cause of the manifestations? Such manifestations are always caused by the presence of a disliked individual to whom the spirit attaches itself. The troublesome spirit is displeased with the inhabitant of the place and wants to make mischief or even make him move out. 3. We would ask if there is someone amongst the inhabitants who is the cause of the phenomenon due to the spontaneous and involuntary mediumship. That is always necessary because if such is not the case, these incidents cannot happen. A spirit lives in a place of its own choosing. As long as there is no one there whom it can use, it remains inactive. But when such a person appears, it entertains itself as much as it can. 4.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Stop here now. So Kardec is very methodically and very thorough on his questioning to St. Louis. And the first thing I want to know if it's real or not. And by real or not, he's basically asking, is it of a spiritual nature or not? Because the events were happening, things was being thrown right and left. Everyone could see, everyone could hear, and if it stay on the way, the object will even hit you. It's happening. So his question basically is it of a spiritual nature or not? And St. Louis responds, yes, it is. There is a spirit over there, having some fun, and of course, as usual, we tend to augment the truth and put our own input on facts. But it's happening, and of course, over here there's a confirmation that there must be a someone to provide the substance required for the medium to act. That individual may or may not be in that specific place, and in this particular case, as we said in the beginning, if it's ignorant or malevolent spirit, usually it has either have a purpose, and for this particular spirit, the purpose was to disrupt people in that household, someone in that household, in that house, that the spirit does not like, or it wants to get him to move out of that house. Then continue.
Okay. 4. We're up to 4. Okay. Is the presence of this person in the place itself indispensable? Normally, yes, and that is the case in this particular situation. That is why I said that these incidents could not be happening otherwise. But I do not mean to, okay, not mean to generalize. There are, in fact, cases where the medium's presence in the place itself is not necessary. Number 5, since such spirits are of lower order, is the aptitude for serving as their auxiliator an unfavorable assumption about the individual? Does it indicate an infinity for beings of this nature? Not exactly, because this aptitude results from a physical disposition. Nevertheless, it almost always indicates a materialistic tendency that would preferably not exist, because the more morally involved a person is, the more he or she attracts good spirits, who necessarily repel the evil ones.
Okay, so this is kind of important here. So the beginning says what you already said, that there must be a medium, and the medium may not necessarily be in the same building, the same confined space, possibly in the vicinity where that substance can be removed from that medium and utilized for the physical phenomenon. Now, Kardashian's asking is here, since the spirit is collecting substance from that particular medium for for something that is not really good, that it's serving um, some evil cause, so to say, does it reflect the quality of that medium? Does it mean that that medium is has affinity with that spirit who has malevolent thoughts? And the answer is no. And that's very important. Not exactly, because the ability, the mediumistic manifestation abilities is basically a organic factor, especially for physical phenomena. So it does not really reflect the the evil quality or the good qualities of the medium. But it may reflect that spirit, that medium, may be in a state of mind, or materialistic state of mind, that allows the approximation of those kind of spirits to utilize what he has to offer. Meaning that if he was, let's say, a more evolved spirit, the medium in the case, he would probably be surrounded by more evolved spirits that would not allow the approximation of less evolved spirit. Okay? But if you remember, a medium may serve as an instrument for very ignorant spirit. We see that every week in our mediumship meeting. Chico Xavier, on his mediumship meeting, he did not receive only Emmanuel and the high spirits. He received really, and actually, they used to say if the real troublesome for him, he could deal with that better. He received the very angry, ignorant spirits as well in the work of assistance, just like we do. So the mediumship may be used by any spirit, sometimes with evil spirits in order to be helped, and sometimes by evolved spirit in order to help us. But when you're dealing with the physical phenomena, especially when the being is not even aware, we may make a very light presumption, and again, a very light presumption, that there is something about that medium that allows the approximation of less evolved spirit to utilize what that medium has to offer. But again, we have to be very careful and let's make it a very, very light presumption. Because there are times, just over here, when it's useful, good spirits may allow that medium to be used by less evolved spirit. I just read that. They were useful, very important word. So I think I have to be very cautious and not make judgments because we don't know the whole spectrum of facts. But as St. Louis puts over here, if you're allowing less evolved spirit to approximate and utilize what I have to offer, if you have a light presumption that perhaps I am in that level that allows great affinity with that kind of spirits. But again, be very careful. And definitely avoid the judgments because you could be completely wrong.
Okay.
Since we're talking about proximity and everything, since the spirit, since the medium that's donating the fluid, the energy, doesn't have to be around in order for the spirit to perform the tricks. Let's put it that way. Does the spirit that's performing needs to be around? Or I mean, when I mean around, like for example, in my house, it has to be around to
The
see
spirit?
yes,
Yes.
to see the object that's throwing at me, to see the
Yes.
object that's moving. So it's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
okay, it
Yeah,
has
the
to be in the
spirit.
vicinity.
You'll be right there in that ambient. If it's happening in the kitchen, the spirit will be there in that kitchen. Yes.
Oh, so there can be like a distant thing, the same way that he's capturing the energy to perform.
No.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
But as Ron explained, no, the spirit will be there in your kitchen or in my kitchen or somebody else's bedroom or living room, but in the spiritual dimension. That's the thing that I tried to discuss the first part. That the spirit dimension is right here, right now. The spirit dimension right here in where I am and right there where you are. There is a spiritual dimension.
Okay.
Excuse me, does that indicate that the spirit causing a problem cannot be an incarnate person?
To perform physical phenomena, no. It would be a discarnate spirit. Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, you suggesting a question over here that I don't have the answer is, could a individual in a state of when the physical body is at rest perform those activities? I don't know if it's possible. Yeah, I don't know if it's possible.
That would be interesting.
Okay.
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 Okay. Number 6. Where does the spirit go in search of the objects it utilizes? It almost always finds these objects in the place itself or in the vicinity. A force that proceeds from the spirit flings them through the air and causes them to fall wherever it wishes.
Okay. So in this case, what was happening in that particular place is that spirit was throwing things
Mm.
around in that place. Okay.
Mm.
And there is two questions basically in here. Where those objects come from? Which object is picking up and throwing? What objects are those? So are those objects that are right in there in that same environment on the very close vicinity? Throwing plates from the shelves, throwing cups from from wherever you keep those cups. Things that is already there, that that is will be coated with ectoplasm, and then can be thrown away by any spirit. And the spirit will use. And another question that comes over here is the force. Because if I'm able, let's say, as an spirit, to bring a cup to fall from on the floor from a table is one thing. But when I take that cup and throw, I don't know, 10 feet, 20 feet distance, it requires a force. It requires some kind of force to produce that work, right? And Kardec say, and then San Luis say over here, a force that proceeds from the spirit, flings them through the air and causes them to fall wherever it wishes. And the question is that what force is that? How the spirit has that ability to have that force. It's not a muscle power like we incarnate have, but I don't know what force is that. I don't know what is it that the spirit has that is able to project, to throw something away. Of course, it's not the muscle power like we incarnate have. I don't know exactly what force, what kind of energy is that.
Is there
Go ahead.
any indication of how heavy an object has been thrown around?
In this particular case, I don't know, but as we read previously, Kardec stated that weight is not an obstacle for spirit to, in physical phenomena, to make it levitate and do things with it. That the weight is not an obstacle. So it may be a fork or a piano.
How about an elephant?
Oh
It's
no, poor elephant. Unless it's a marble elephant, that's okay.
Question, Elmo.
Yeah.
Couldn't there also be like almost like a tag team, like reinforcements to that spirit who's the initiating spirit? Couldn't there be helpers? Teaming up, like throwing couches and moving beds and moving chest of drawers, that type of thing. Question, I don't know. Any thoughts? Thank you.
That could be. The spirit may not necessarily be acting alone, but one spirit could do all that damage and one person only, but that could be a team effort as well.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
So once the phenomenon starts, how the living person, let's put that way, what a person can do to stop it, like just get down on their knees and start praying, or just run for your life, or what do you do when you're in the middle of it?
When it's happening and you know nothing else, so yeah, let's say prayer is the first thing to do, but the great suggestion is Kardec will do right over here is try to talk to the spirit in using verbal communication or telepathically. Try to speak to the spirit. If you dare to do so, if you have any degree of understanding of spirituality. Running away is more likely what most people will do, but it will not resolve the problem. Education is what really resolves the problem. So if you are able to, if you have the know-how, you have some kind of faith, to try to address the spirit, try to speak to the spirit, and definitely pray for the spirit. Very often pray for ourselves. God help me, No, God help this spirit that is so much in need here.
Oh, so you don't call to your guardian angel and everyone to make stop. No, I mean that's what I was thinking. I would call the army and say, listen, we are in trouble here. 911, I need some help here. So we should pray for the spirit that's doing the craziness, right?
That would be my suggestion, yes. And if it's a personal relationship, we're gonna have to deal with, and the only way to resolve that problem would be by education of that spirit and ourselves, right? In the case of both of us, as we educate ourselves, even if the other spirit, the other side does not do their part, we may be able to vibrate at a higher level that you not allow the spirit to perform those acts anymore, even if they have the know-how. We'll kind of sanctify our environment, and the spirit will not be able to perform whatever they wish to perform. But if it's a personal relationship, it may take some time. If it's a spirit just trying to have some fun, once they see that we are not afraid, that we are not being manipulated by them, they will look for someone else where they can have their fun. Yeah, but prayer it'll be the first step on, and then communicate, talk to the spirit directly, verbally, or telepathically.
And just to be sure of the Hollywood movies, there's no way for, if something's thrown at you, a medium or whoever is trained to just intercept the object and change its course in order not to be harmed. There's no way, there's no such a thing like that, right?
I don't get it. I'm sorry.
Like we say, those mind movies that when in their trouble, something's coming, they just move things away. So even though this is like a spiritual thing, what training medium, some that might know what's happening, once it's something's thrown at your way, it goes its course until you get out of the way or hit something else, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. Okay, let's continue.
Okay. Number 7. Since spontaneous manifestations are often allowed and even caused for the purpose of convincing disbelievers, it seems to us that if some of these individuals were themselves their target, they would be forced to yield to the evidence. People often complain of not having witnessed conclusive facts. Wouldn't it depend on spirits to provide them with appreciable proof? Don't atheists and materialists witness at every moment the effects of the power of God and of their thought? But this does not prevent them from denying both God and the soul. Did the miracles of Jesus convert all his contemporaries? Didn't the Pharisees who said to him, Master, show us a sign, resemble those who today ask you to show them manifestations? If they fail to be convinced by the marvels of creation, they will be no more affected by the appearance of spirits, even if they appear in the most obvious manner, because these individuals' pride has transformed them into stubborn mules. They would have plenty of opportunities to witness them if they sought such opportunities in good faith. That is why God does not deem it appropriate to more for them than what God has already done for those who sincerely seek to educate themselves. Because God only rewards persons of goodwill, their disbelief will not impede the fulfillment of the divine will. You have already seen that it has not hindered the expansion of the doctrine. So do not concern yourselves with their opposition, which is to be the doctrine what a shadow is to a painting. It lends it greater relief. What would be their merit if they had to be convinced by force? God leaves to them the responsibility for their own stubbornness, and this responsibility is heavier than you might think. Fortunate are those who believe without having seen, said Jesus, because they do not doubt the power of God.
Okay, so this is the perennial question that everyone does in the beginning of understand this doctrine, when we kind of fall in love with the doctrine and we want the whole world to get it because we got it. Now everybody has to get it. We want to put it in the newspapers and in all the radios and TV stations. Look at this, pay attention to this. And to find out that it's calm down, it's not like that. Slow down. You know, those who want to know, they will find the pathway to know it. Those who are interested, they will find it. And if you just pushing people, trying to stick those things in their throats, it's not going to work. We're going to be harmed, and the doctrine is going to be harmed. It takes a while to understand that. It took me a long time to understand that. So that's the same thing, pretty much the same thing here, but dealing with the spontaneous manifestation. If the ultimate purpose, when it's for the good reason of allowing those things to happen, and even creating the opportunity for this to happen, is to convince disbelievers, why can we do this more often, or can we do more forcefully, and then we're going to eliminate all the disbelieving. And St. Louis said, well, what else you want us to do? You already brought this doctrine. You already has all the sciences calling attention of everyone. You know what happens with the Fox sisters in the Americas. It is happening for anyone who wants to hear, who wants to see. We cannot impose these upon anyone. We cannot make they see and believe, because they will see and they will not believe the same way. So for those who are interested, it has been presented. Those who care to follow has been following, and the rest will come eventually. Because again, the most important thing here is that when St. Louis says, pride has transformed them into stubborn mules. And again, you can take the horse or can take the mule to the water, but you cannot make them drink. You just can't. And besides, as St. Louis says over here, the merit is for us to go, to look, to get it, not to be imposed upon us. If God wants to make us already perfect in spirit, He could make us already perfect in spirit. But God chose to make us, create us simple and ignorant, and go to all this trouble of reincarnation after reincarnation, get in trouble here, get in trouble there, to perfect ourselves through our own effort. You don't like the idea? Go talk to God. No, that was his choice, and here's the same thing. You want to get it, you're going to get it through one effort. I'm not going to impose it upon you. And having those very more glorious physical manifestations, apparitions, I think, those who choose not to believe because they are mules, transformed by mules through their own pride, will not believe in any way. But eventually, we all gonna grow up. I think our time is, I still have a few more minutes. I'm not going to start the next one. So any questions? So no question. So basically now, on item 8, Kardec will ask some kind of a permission from St. Louis to evoke that spirit who is causing all that noise to talk to that spirit. And St. Louis will say, yeah, go ahead. And there is a nice evocation and a nice conversation with that spirit that we will leave for next week, because I'd like to start and finish that evocation.
Okay.
Hey, not sure if you mentioned, forgive me, because maybe I wasn't paying attention. You mentioned that sometimes these kind of things, they have a good purpose, a good intention. They're trying to call our attention or whatever in order to something good, not necessarily something bad. For a person that is ignorant on spiritual life and whatever, how can one recognize that has like a good intentions behind of the scary manifestation that's happening before that?
Mhm.
I think that's very personal with that on individual. Some people will not get it, but the opportunity is given. It's extremely personal, and how much is someone willing to be more open to some new ideas. Someone is more open to be a little bit less prideful. It's extremely personal, but the opportunity is given, and the opportunity is given for those who are ready to make use of it. Then it becomes our sorry. Uh, then it becomes up to us how we're going to use our free will and our intelligence to make the best use of that opportunity given to us. It's extremely personal. But if that is the purpose that's happened to someone, to call their attention, to warm them to something, is because that person has the potential of utilize that opportunity. If the person chooses to do so or not, you guess as good as mine.
So would you say that if the phenomenon is happening, things are just falling, like a book is falling from the shelf and something like that's not being thrown at you, that's a sign that's trying to call your attention on, trying to get back at you? One could assume something like that.
Yes, one could assume, yes, definitely. If you have your library at house, you have your bookshelf, and things are so well placed and falling off with no apparent reason, you do not be curious, you do not try to find out what's happening over here, do a little research and rule out all the possible physical causes, and when you rule all of them, then the only thing left now is a spiritual cause. You do not try to find out why, from whom, who is doing it, what for. For us, doing this study is almost an automatic that you're trying to get some answers. For someone completely outside of this field, this world that we live in as a spiritist, it may be a lot more difficult.
Thank you.
You do have to be someone really willing to get outside of the box, to break some personal barriers, to go look for those answers. And very often that's exactly what those spirits coming from a good spirit for a good cause is trying to do, to force people to get out of their comfort level, to break some personal barriers and get out of the box. But you make the decision, that person, you make the decision, you utilize the free will, the intelligence to do it or not. Okay, any more questions? So again, the conversation of Rob Kardec with that spirit via psychography is pretty interesting. We'll do that next week. Someone make the final prayers for us.
Okay, I'll make it, Elmo.
Thank you.
Almighty God, O Supreme Intelligence, our teacher and our mentor, Jesus Christ, and all that have participated here tonight in these beautiful lessons that have been given to us in the Spirit book and the Mediumship book. We are so grateful, dear Father, and we thank you for the lessons given here today, the physical manifestations that are so important for us to understand, to help not only those that are in need, but those that don't understand and who are in need, so we could be able to help and assist in our daily lives here in the physical world. We thank you, dear God, for that, for the continuation of studying and understanding. We pray, dear Father, now as we continue the path here on this planet Earth with all that is going on, with the sufferings of those that are in need, we pray for them, dear God, that you assist and guide and help those that are in need. For those that have lost their loved ones, we pray for them. May they find the peace and serenity in their hearts. May we continue with our families to be safe throughout the week with prayers in our hearts and assisting all that we can in our daily lives. And always remembering that we're never alone. We are always assisted. And with that in mind, we ask, dear Father, permission to close our meeting tonight. So be it.